Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the ACHA Power Play Live right here on 12 Ounce Sports. You can catch us, of course, on 12ouncesports.com and our YouTube channel, which is 12 Ounce Sports. And we're on X. We're everywhere. You can follow us on social media at X at The Real Captain Lou is on the bottom of the page right there. Or you can follow us, as I mentioned, on 12 Ounce Sports and on YouTube. Happy November the 12th. The road to St. Louis 2025 is in full gear, almost halfway through November. So if you do the math, let's see, that's January, February, March. We're about, let's say, 3.5 months away from puck drop of the 2025 National Tournament down in St. Louis. We got a couple of great guests lined up here for us tonight. Coming up on the show is going to be Austin Huizenga. He is the head coach of Calvin University's D3 squad, as they are currently right now in Division III ranked second in the country, as they are off to a fantastic start, 7-1 on the year. They've got a couple of big weekend matchups coming up with Michigan State this weekend. And then next week, the epic showdown, one of their big rivals in every sport with Calvin. And that, of course, is Hope College. And what do you know? Hope is ranked number 1 in the country in Division III. So that's going to be a great matchup. Head coach Huizenga is going to join us here a little bit in a few moments. And then coming up at the bottom of the hour or a little bit after that, head coach Frank DiCristofaro of the Indiana Tech Warriors ACHA Men's Division I team. Believe they're ranked 9th in the country in Division I. And Coach DiCristofaro just got his 250th career win. So I can't wait to talk to him about that. He's been on the show a few times, and always a great conversation with Frank. He's no stranger to the national tournament as well, as they've made it quite a few times now down to St. Louis and to Boston for their trips to the national tournament, as well as Calvin with head coach Austin Huizenga. They were a semifinal participant at the D3 level too. A lot going on in the world of the ACHA. We've got 5 new teams that was announced that are going to be headed to Division I. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well. We'll give you updated rankings in men's Division I, women's Division I, and men's Division III. The women's D1 rankings just came out a little less than an hour ago, and we've got some changes, a little bit jockeying back and forth, if you will, on those rankings. So yeah, it should be it just kind of makes things interesting, giving us something to talk about here on the show. And we'll also give you the big showdowns this weekend in all the divisions here at the ACHA. We've got some ranked teams in action against each other. It's pretty cool. These guys like to play each other, the men and the women. It gets them ready for the national tournament. We've got some big matchups between ranked teams. We'll go through that as well. So sit back and enjoy for the next, about 57 minutes as we bring you the ACHA Power Play Live here on 12 Ounce Sports. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get right to the new teams that are going to be here in Division I come next year, 25-26. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports and our 12 Ounce Sports channel on YouTube, where we invite you, by the way, to subscribe to our channel. You can get all of our shows live and also on demand on our YouTube channel, which is 12 Ounce Sports. We'll be right back.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the program here on the ACHA Power Play. And without any further ado, let's get to our guest line right now real quick, and let's bring him in. He is the head coach of the Calvin University Knights at the D3 level, off to a fantastic start, and that's Austin Huizenga. Austin, thanks for taking time out tonight on such short notice. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Lou?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you coming on. We mentioned you're off to a good start this year. Picking up where you left off last year, 7-1, I believe, coming into this weekend. What's been the secret sauce to your success so far this year?
Oh man, I don't know if there's any secret sauce. I think we just have a really good group of players, group of students, and guys who want to come to the rink every single day, and they love playing hockey. When you practice at 5:50 in the morning, I think you really have to love something to do that. So. It's a great group of guys, and they buy in, and fortunately they listen to us coaches, and we don't have to ridicule them much or give them much crap or anything like that. They love to go out and work and listen really well.
Austin, that we talk about this 100 times on the show. I've talked about this for as long as I've been doing this now, for 8 or 9 years. The dedication and the discipline that these kids have to do that. They got schoolwork and all that on top of it. 5:50 in the morning to go to practice. That's that is commendable. How do you get up so early? I mean, I know I have to do it for a living, but wow.
They make me want to come to the rink.
That's awesome.
They're a great group of guys. I was late one day for practice this year, and they're all kind of heckling me and giving me crap and this and that. So, it's a fun group of guys to be with, and they make it fun to want to go to the rink that early in the morning and get up that early. It's impressive what ACHA players have to go through sometimes to just be able to go out and have some fun and play some hockey. When I was in college, I think we practiced at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So we don't get the prime time, ice time sometimes. It's just guys doing it because they love it. And you have to respect that as any sort of student athlete,
Yeah. Is that why when you guys have 8:30 puck drops at night, I sometimes see you yawning as you're getting towards the bench? I don't feel so bad with my schedule, eh?
Those 8:30 puck drops get later and later.
Oh, for sure. So, like I said, you guys off to a great start. You had a good year, a very good year last year, getting all the way to the semifinals. I know that's kind of in the rearview mirror, but we really haven't had a chance to talk about that with you being on the show here for the first time. That had to have been a little bit of a thrill, but it gave you a taste of what it takes to get there, I'll bet too, right?
Yeah, it does. I used the term last year that we were. I think that was true. I think we as a team and us as a coaching staff knew how good we could actually be, and it was just the consistency factor of kind of being able to put that together every weekend and every game, and that's hard to do at any level when you play a sport. So, we were obviously really happy and obviously very disappointed. And when you get that far and you're not standing as the last team winning the championship game, you're always going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I think that just kind of fueled our returners they know what it's like now to get there. Fueled us as a coaching staff to know what it's like to get there. I think that's our kind of mentality this year, is to at least make sure we get back to that spot. And now that we know what the game is like, I think we know how to approach it a little bit better. And hopefully we can have a different outcome this year. But it was a lot of fun. Being able to be in that atmosphere, being able to, that whole environment, having all 5 ACHA tournaments there, it's just an awesome environment, because when a game's not going on or it's at intermission, everybody comes and watches your game, and it's just a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, and you throw in the tornado warnings they had that one day there. It was just all kinds of fun for everybody. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, you come into this year, Austin, and you mentioned the guys that have been there, but I look at your roster, and obviously you see a little bit of turnover. You got a good mix of freshmen in, and of course the sophomores, and I
Mhm.
look at your score sheet. I was thinking about this when I was broadcasting a couple of your games this year. It's the same guys aren't scoring. I mean, you've got so many people. There's so many guys that you can lean on. I mean, Klemparens I think he had a hat trick the opening game, and then you've got other guys step up. Miles Redersma is leading your team in scoring, but it seems like a new guy every night.
Yeah, and obviously going into a season, you never know. You obviously have hopes for guys and hopes that certain guys step up. And when our team has done what it's done so far through this year, it's great to see. And you're right, it's kind of a different guy every single night. I think we have a very, very deep lineup that, like, we're fortunate enough that we can basically just roll 4 lines and know that whatever line is on the ice against you, it's probably going to be in our favor.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against any team that we played. That's just the confidence that we have in our guys that we're dressing every single night. And it's awesome to see, because it kind of makes your job as a coach that much easier when you have the trust in the guys like that. So,
And one of the things I noticed too with your team that I kind of marvel at, not only the goaltending, but what really stands out to me, Austin, with you guys is your team speed, especially on the back end, getting back. And, if you cough up the puck, at your blue line, I've noticed, or in the offensive zone at the blue line, the team speed getting back on defense to me has been something that has really stood out this year, at least first 8 games.
yeah, I think that was probably the biggest thing that we preached when the season started was, I didn't really have any concerns about scoring goals. We can win an 8-5 game, but
Yeah.
I think our biggest concern as a coaching staff was, can we win that 1-0 game, that 2-0 game, that 3-1 game? Especially getting later into the season, games are going to get tougher.
Yeah.
Teams are just naturally going to get better throughout the year. So that was kind of our biggest thing going into the season was, as hard as you work on offense, make sure that you're working just as hard, if not harder, on defense, so that you can get the puck back and work that hard and have that much fun when you're on offense in the offensive zone transitioning. And the guys have bought into that kind of mindset. And it's been awesome to see.
How does it feel to be able to have your pick of 3 goaltenders, and the one with the worst goals against is at 2?
That's maybe the toughest part as a coach is trying to find playing time for all 3 of those guys, because I think all of them can play. And again, I think any team in the ACHA would love to have any 3 of those guys on their roster, and they'd probably be playing 80-90% of the games. And that, as a coach, it's sometimes hard to get guys in, but guys also, like winning and enjoy winning too. And I mean, that's probably my toughest thing as a coach, is trying to find for all 3 of those guys, because they are all just outstanding players, but even better yet, they're outstanding human beings.
Oh, I can attest to that.
They all root for each other. Obviously as a player you want to play, but as a player you also love seeing when your teammates and the guys next to you in the locker room have success. And it's a tremendous goaltending room that we have. And I can't complain.
We're joined here on the ACHA Power Play by Calvin University D3 head coach Austin Huizenga. Austin, be honest with me. How often do you look at the rankings?
I think this year, I think just always waiting for that first ranking to come out. I think is, for any coach in the country, that's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
So I was excited for that to come out. From then on, I'll be excited when they come out, but I maybe not second it maybe as much as I did last year, especially not knowing where we were going to be last year. This year we have pretty high hopes of being higher up in the rankings when we go to nationals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's exciting when that day comes every other Friday. And then, yeah, just knowing that maybe the team that you're playing that night is ranked just ahead of you or maybe just behind you just kind of gives you that extra motivation you might need for that weekend of games.
So this weekend coming up, you've got Michigan State. Anybody you play in the MCHC is tough. They're not ranked, so to speak, but we all know the history that they've had at the D3 level. I mean, they've been a national power. And then the following week, you've got what I call the games against your arch rival. And I got my first taste of it last year, and I couldn't believe it. Standing room only, both games. It was wonderful. I mean, how difficult will it be for your guys not to look forward to that with Michigan State first coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, as a player when I played, it's hard to not look forward to those games. As a freshman, I grew up in the area and I'd been to Calvin Hope games before, but as just a spectator. But when you're in the game and you're playing in it, it is something just totally different and kind of surreal. How much that rivalry means to both of these communities. I mean, that's probably gonna have to be part of my pregame speeches this weekend. Is take it one period at a time, one shift at a time, one game at a time, and when that week comes up, then we can kind of ratchet it up even more. But I mean, that's a difficult thing too when you have a rivalry like Hope, not looking too far in advance and making sure you're kind of staying in the present.
So I know you probably haven't thought of this much, but it was announced today that there's 5 new teams that are going to be bumping up to D1. Now, Calvin, of course, has the D1 and the D3 program, both very successful. But when they made that bump up to D1, how difficult is that to get adjusted to life at the D1 level for some of these teams? I mean, I know Northwood, I mean, my goodness, I think they're 11-1 right now. They're having a crazy start, but
yeah,
it's quite a jump for some of these teams. It's going to be anyways.
Yeah, it's, I think it kind of took us, so we jumped up after my freshman year.
Yeah.
And we had a phenomenal freshman team. We had a phenomenal team my freshman year, I should say.
Yeah.
And lost in the national finals to Aquinas, and we probably graduated 10 to 15 people, and then made the jump after that. And it was extremely difficult to go through that because there were times like we had some guys that were playing, if our D3 and D1 teams played back to back at home, some guys were playing in both games just to make sure that we weren't going out there with 10 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's difficult, but if you can kind of set it up well, I think it can be it's not going to be an easy transition by any means, but it can definitely help you out. But going through those growing pains also, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I think it helped us out as a program too, because you kind of had 3 or 4 or 5 different classes experience that to some dimension.
Yeah.
And they can carry that forward and say, I don't want to be in this position ever again. So we're going to set a standard every single year going into it to make sure that standard continues to go up and up. And that's fantastic. And kudos to Mike too for kind of enduring those years. I don't think it was easy on him by any means. But yeah, it's never going to be an easy transition, but I think the way that you look at it as a coach can definitely help the team grow. And yeah.
So how did what gave you the coaching bug after your playing days?
Well, my dad was a coach. My dad actually coached with Mike
Okay.
Kuzma back in maybe the late 90s. They coached high school hockey together. So I kind of always knew that I maybe wanted to get into coaching. Never really thought it would be at the college level. Thought maybe coaching my kids as they grow up and whatnot. But I think as, my hockey career progressed, kind of analyzing games and seeing that from the bench, just kind of grew on me the more and more I played. And I had an opportunity to coach with the D1 team right after I graduated, and I kind of jumped at it to see what it was like, and I enjoyed it enough. And apparently Mike thought I was good enough to run my own team, so I'm very grateful for that. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. Obviously, winters are very busy, but it's fun. You get to help shape some young kids' minds and help them throughout their college career, their post-college careers. And I think that's just a fun opportunity to take 18 to 24-year-olds and kind of help them navigate sometimes the toughest parts of their life. And it's a fun thing from the hockey side of it, but it's also just fun from the human side of it too.
Well, I could see that, how much you're enjoying it when I see you at the rink when I get there. And I'm just, it's a microcosm of of your week and your day that you put in.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, if there's something, I know you guys are doing, you're off to a great start, like I mentioned, doing really well. If there's something maybe that you want to maybe tweak or something to keep the boys doing what they're doing, what would that be that you think you might want to kind of brush up on a little bit? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. That's a good question. I think consistently it's just going to be our D zone. We put a lot of time and effort into our D zone, especially as our season has gone on. And as we play better teams, we can kind of see where those different holes are in our D zone. And again, it just kind of goes back to working as hard as you can in the D zone, like our team does in the O zone, because in the O zone, I think we're a tough team to match up against. And it's just kind of changing their mindset a little bit when they're in the D zone of, hey, if I want to have the fun that I have when I'm in the O zone, I have to work my tail off down at this end to get the puck back, to take away any good scoring chances, and get the puck down on the other end where we can have a lot of fun.
Well, this weekend, like we mentioned, you're at Michigan State, 9:00 Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
and then Saturday, 7:15 at the Eagles Ice Center in Grand Rapids. Another big doubleheader in the MCHC, and with and I'm not afraid to say it. I know I get some people that give me a lot of flack, but the premier conference in all of D3 hockey, one of the best conferences in all levels at the ACHA. The proof is in the pudding. You mentioned it. You guys were in the championship game. You've been there. This conference has put so many teams every year in the Final Four. It's uncanny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I no doubt in my mind think it's the best conference at the D3 level. And that's nice as a coach because you're friends with them all, and they're, for the most part, easy games to schedule.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to travel 6, 7, 8 hours to go play good teams. I think the first rankings, I think half the MCHC was ranked in the top 20, which is as a coach, that's fantastic because you're going to be playing really, really tough, challenging games every single weekend when you play an MCHC team. And I think that's fantastic. The Vezina Cup weekend, that might be as hard as Nationals is. Sometimes those are going to be the toughest things to win because that's bragging rights within your own state. And it's hard to beat that. And that was last year was my first time experiencing that second weekend of the Vezina Cup as a player or coach.
Yeah.
And it's such a good kind of replica of Nationals because you get that 2-weekend playoff system, and you're playing, teams that are in the top 20 in those 2 weekends. And it's just such a great way to get yourself geared up for nationals, because nationals usually a week and a half, 2 weeks after it. So you get just enough break in there to kind of rest up, get your mind right going into nationals.
Indeed, it is. That's the weekend of March 1st, I believe. So obviously it's down the road. First stop for you guys, though. Michigan State this weekend, and then the games the weekend after. Austin, thanks for taking time out tonight to be with us. I'll see you Saturday night at the rink. I'll probably be there about 5:45 like I normally am, way early. But good luck this weekend, and thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you Saturday night, Lou.
All right. Thanks, Austin. Talk soon.
Yep.
Austin Huizenga, the head coach of Calvin's D3 ACHA hockey team, right now ranked second in the country in the latest polls. We're going to go over that ranking real quick here before we go to break, as their first rankings come out right around the 1st of November. And in years past, how it worked was we had regions where they had it like D2 for the men, where it would be the top 2 in each region got the automatic berth, and then they had their regional qualifying tournaments. But now it's the top 16 go to nationals in St. Louis, and the top 4 teams get the top seed in each of the brackets, each of the pool play brackets. They play 3 days of pool play at nationals. If you're not familiar with it, we mentioned it. Hope's ranked number 1. Calvin's ranked number 2. Missouri State is 3. Oakland University is 4. It's good to see them back in national prominence, at least right now. We've got the defending national champions Lawrence Tech at 5. The Grand Valley at 6. Grand Valley gave Calvin their only loss a couple of weeks ago. They split with them. Then at 7 is University of Michigan. Air Force Academy is at 8. Then it's Notre Dame at 9. Northern Arizona at 10. And University of California, Davis at 11. Dort at 12. And Dallas Baptist at 13. Cal State Long Beach at 14th. Then Nebraska at 15. Wisconsin at 16. And then you got Michigan State at number 22. They're going to invade, or they're going to take on Calvin again with a home and home this weekend. And that's going to be a lot of fun. If you want a chance to watch on Saturday, go to Calvin University Athletics on YouTube, and I'll have the play-by-play for that game for them Saturday night there on their YouTube channel at 7:15 with the puck drop. So great hockey. He talked about it, and he's right. The ACHA, the MCHC at the D3 level is one of the top ones in top conferences in all the land. It is the top conference at the Division III level, if not at the ACHA, all of the divisions as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through some of the other news, some of the big games coming up in the ACHA, and still to come. The head coach of Indiana Tech, Frank DiCristofaro, will be checking in here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So you're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and our 12 Ounce Sports channel on YouTube.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And welcome back, everybody, to the ACHA Power Play. And as the commercial mentioned before we get into anything further, there's some big games coming up this weekend in the world of sports at the college and the professional level. You want to go watch the Lions this weekend at home against the Jaguars. Kansas City and Buffalo are going to tangle this weekend, or the big college football games as well. Look no further for those tickets than 12ouncesports.com/tickets. We are a ticket broker. We don't charge you the fees that you see on some of these other websites. It's a quick, Very simple to use. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets. ACHA Power Play rolls on here. The road to St. Louis rolls on as we're about 4 months away, I guess, if you do the math. December's 1, January, February. Yeah, about 4 months. I think puck drop will be underway at the tournament as it's going to be 2 weeks in St. Louis, all at the Centene Ice Center in 2025. And it's going to be, it's always a great time. You know, you get all 5 divisions there at one spot. As Coach Huizenga mentioned, you get games going all day, 5 to 6 games a day at least of 3 rinks. And it's a great community. Just again, everybody gets together. So much fun. So many great games. At the men's and the women's level. 3 at the men's side, 2 at the women's, of course. So looking forward to that. 13th through the 25th. That's down in St. Louis, Missouri, the 2025 ACHA National Tournament. Want to thank head coach again, Austin Huizenga from Calvin University, their D3 team, ranked number 2 in the country right now at the D3 level. And they take on 22 ranked Michigan State this weekend with a home and home. And then next week, they've got number 1 Hope, Friday at Hope, and then Saturday at Calvin. And if you're in the West Michigan area and you want to see some really good hockey at the collegiate level, look no further than that. But get there early. The tickets go for these really, really quick. Standing room only. I'm kind of thinking about taking a road trip next Friday to go watch the opening game Friday night. I think that's going to be a dandy. So we'll we'll see what's going on next Friday night, see how the weather is. I think I might have to take that little ride over there because it's like Coach Huizenga mentioned, these are the games that everybody looks for, and it's a good primer for the Nationals along with that Vezina Cup tournament right before the national tournament. So anyways, there we go with the kind of a look. We mentioned the D3 level with the national tournament, with the national rankings as well, Hope and Calvin. 4 teams in the top 5 are out of the MCHC in the state of Michigan, with Missouri State at number 3. We mentioned Oakland 4 and Lawrence Tech at 5, and then throw Grand Valley in at number 6. Hey, we also mentioned at the top of the broadcast here tonight, it was announced today that we've got 5 new teams that are going to be making the bump up to D1 starting next year. That's going to bring 82 teams to the D1 level for the ACHA. Central Michigan making the jump from D3 to D1. University of Michigan Flint going from D3 to D1. And then it's going to be Cincinnati. They're going from D2 to D1, along with Kentucky. 2 powers in Division II out of the I always forget it. The Tri-State, the Hockey Collegiate Conference, something like that, over in the Midwest, where they were very prominent last year with Miami of Ohio and with Indiana making it to the championship game last year. And Siena Heights Saints, their hockey operations are going to be transferring over from Concordia. All right, let's get back to our guest line real quick, and let's bring in a friend of the show. He's been on a few times, very gracious with his time. Let's talk a little bit with the head coach of Indiana Tech, that being Frank DiCristofaro. Frank, thanks for taking time out on short notice. How are you?
I'm good, Lou. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. All right, right off the top, congratulations on your 250th career win. That doesn't mean you're old. That means you're good. Keep that in mind, all right?
Yeah, that's what they keep telling me. As a colleague said last year, who will remain nameless, the jet black hair is getting a little silvery. So if 250 is an indication of anything, it's probably old age.
Well, let me tell you, it wasn't this colleague, because I'm jealous of your hair, man. I haven't had hair like that since the turn of the century, man. So I'd take it in a heartbeat. So, okay. So since you started coaching, I know I've asked you this before, but what's changed with the level of play with the ACHA since you started coaching 12 to 13 years ago?
Oh, man. I think a lot of it, and credit to, the fraternity of coaches that are in the ACHA, a lot of it is the quality. And I think that is the biggest thing that when we go out to recruit or when we talk to people, is the way that it's treated, the way that the expectations of it
Yeah.
have really changed, and I think you see that as a reflection of a lot of the teams across all levels. It is something that kids, they come in, they want to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it was viewed a little bit differently about 15, call it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think now there's a legit more, there's more of a, I guess, brand to it, if anything else. And I think you're seeing that quality of play is there. The different schools that fund it the way that they do
Mm-hmm.
also helps overall. So I think you got your your high end, your name brand schools, and you have your smaller schools that are kind of looking to put a good product on the ice. I think that's the biggest thing that has changed, over the past 13 or so years.
So you guys this year off to another good start, very good start. I think you're ranked eighth in the country, eighth or ninth, and off to a good start in the conference play. What's been the secret so far this year for you guys?
We had a good returning core.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that are able to kind of show the way, and we did a good job recruiting this past year, bringing pieces to the puzzle in, and that's exactly what they are, is kind of strategic guys that are brought in for different skill sets. So for us, we did lose a few big parts on the back end and a couple up front, but I think we were able to kind of reload, and that's really been the key. Our conference is difficult with the way the schedule's set up.
Mm-hmm.
We do play a significant amount of conference games.
Yeah.
And so those teams get familiar with you pretty quick, and kind of the second time through is immensely more difficult. So to be where we're at right now, we are happy about it. But we're not sitting here saying, yeah, this is going to be a coast through the rest of the season at all.
Well, that's one thing that I've gotten to know about you, Frank, is and it's a good thing, is you don't sit on the laurels and you don't stand pat. You're always looking to get better, and I think that's obviously a secret to success, eh?
Yeah, and we try to instill that with the guys. Obviously we have a track record of success, but that's as good as our players are, and we've said it before, the players win the games.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no on our end, we put the structure together, and they want to maintain kind of that standard. And so far this season, it's been there. We had a really good series with Adrian a couple weeks ago that kind of was a good measuring stick. Gary always has a good program yearly, and that's kind of it's a series our guys look forward to because we get to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were able to kind of come away with some things that are some opportunities for growth.
One of the things I looked at with your team so far this year, Frank, is the play between the pipes. It's funny as I see like Brody Haylock, he's got 2 wins and both of them are shutouts, and you can go to him or Gage and even Braden Funk, and you guys, it's another good problem for you to have, which goalie to play.
Yeah, that was one of our areas of need here in the off season. We've been fortunate enough. We actually have an additional goalie in Ian Kagas that he is also good. He's coming off an injury. So hasn't seen any time yet, but I think we're very deep in between the pipes. And that, that's obviously a good thing. It creates some competition, and not in a malicious way, but just in a healthy way. Right.
Right.
So, and that kind of bleeds into, how the guys kind of pull for each other. They're inside the locker room. We call them kind of, I guess, goalie partner. We call them the goalie guild. Honestly, that's that is their, I guess, corporation. The 4 pillars there. But they are partners in the fact they push each other, and it's been very good to see, especially in practice, like the competitiveness. So that's shown its way onto the ice.
You know, we were talking right before you came on, and I mentioned this with Calvin's D3 coach, Austin Huizenga, in the last half hour. We got a bunch of new teams coming. It was announced to D1, and and we've had a few that are starting next year as well, and a couple that have started this year. Are you surprised by the number of teams that are making that jump?
Oh man, this Lou, you got a loaded question here, my man.
Okay, well, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
It's not that. I honestly, I do think you're going to see a lot of shifting in the college hockey landscape overall the
Okay.
next like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I know I mean, we have obviously the teams that have announced for D1.
Yeah.
I got a lot of phone calls, especially this afternoon, once American International College announced they were dropping to D2. And, with the CHL ruling and a lot of these things that are coming down the pipe, it's exciting because it does allow more opportunity. Like there's a glut of talent, especially in the U.S. Like there's a lot of very good hockey players.
Yes.
And they are going to have opportunity to play. And that I think is the best part of all of it. Like the players win in all of this.
Sure.
And as far as the teams moving up, I know you have, I guess, regional affiliations, which you're fortunate because travel wise it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think Central, Flint, off the top of my head, some of them escape me, but
yeah,
those are easy trips and easy games to play.
Right.
At the same time, the transition is going to be initially, I think, a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think if you take a look at Saginaw Valley, like that's kind of what they did this past year and now kind of what they're doing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of, I don't want to say they're braving the landscape right now, but they're running into some good teams.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an example. And maybe I'm way off base, which that could be also, but I do know that it is going to be exciting to be a hockey player in the next 4 to 6 years because of the options that are going to be available to players.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that about the CHL. To me, it is exciting. I think you're going to see that. One of the things, and I don't know if I read this right, and I probably didn't, but one of the things that they are going to focus with some of these kids is to be a little more prepared before they get to like you guys or whoever academically. And I think that they, does that make sense to you? That's going to be a transition for those players too?
I mean, there is a level, especially in the CHL. There's a level of, the players are like, yeah, school's not my thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There always has been that, right?
Sure. Oh, for sure.
I do think there's going the level of investment and to make sure that academically they're ready is going to be important. And I don't say that from from a malicious standpoint. I don't know how much of a push that had been.
Yeah.
In the CHL overall. I know about the education packages and things like that, but I honestly couldn't tell you off the top of my head if they follow up on if guys are graduating high school or things of that nature as they go through.
Well, let's talk more about your team this year then. You, like we mentioned already, you guys are off to a great start. What is, if anything, on the pleasant side has surprised you, Frank, with the play this year? What has been something that you may not have expected that you've done really well this year?
I have to say I was a little bit concerned about the back end, losing who we lost. And I'm pleasantly surprised with how we've been able to hold, from a team defense standpoint. We have guys that are offensive, and scoring goals wasn't necessarily a huge concern on our end as much as it was getting the puck out of our own end.
Okay.
But it has been, and again, I use kind of the Adrian series as a measuring stick. It was, excuse me, it was good to see it initially coming off. It was a long week. It was about 4 games in 8 days.
Yeah.
2 of those 4 games were against Rochester, and then the back end was against Adrian. And after the initial transition, I guess, in game 1, where, we kind of had this bend but not break mentality. We were in the second game. We ended up in the second period against Adrian and just couldn't quite hold on. And that has been it's been a focus, but I thought we were going to have to really hammer it much harder than we had been to this point. Which is it's good and bad, because that means we have the puck a little bit more in the offensive zone than maybe we anticipated. But at the same time, when the opportunity or when the test is there from another team, then it's like, all right, we gotta address this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that has to be on the fly, so which can be a challenge.
Well, this weekend you get what I consider, to me, it was a big rivalry, obviously in the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference with Aquinas. You coached against him as a player. Now he's a head coach with Brandon Rosema, and it's exciting to see his enthusiasm. I've talked to him a couple of times this year. Great to see him taking over that program. But you guys always play. I don't care what time of year, you guys always play competitive games. They're so much fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. We have been several years now. It's just back and forth,
Yeah.
right? Like we're not calling out age here, but it has been back and forth and very, very competitive, very entertaining games. But I like to feel like a lot of respect on both sides.
Oh,
also.
yeah.
So, yes, Brandon's been, I saw him at some showcases last year, some scouting events, and, he's asking a lot of the right questions, and basically developing kind of his own approach to a lot of things, which is good, because that can be a challenge coming, being a fresh coach.
Mm-hmm.
And, he brought in a lot of good players, and I think molding them is going to be the challenge, especially in the first year. And you can see it. If I'd be lying if I said we hadn't watched their games yet. So you can see it, and there's flashes, and he's just going to have to continue to do what he's doing. With that said, we're going to continue to do what we do.
Well, for sure.
And that, I think, is what's going to make it an exciting series to watch this weekend.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything less from you guys. It's always, like I said, always competitive. Frank, I know you're busy. I know this was last minute. I won't keep you much longer. I appreciate you coming on. Congratulations again on that milestone. I know you'll think more about it down the road, because you've got the task at hand, and that's keeping your team ready to, on the road, if you will, to St. Louis. I know that's a long ways out yet too, but thank you very much for coming on. Continued success with you. It's always great talking to you.
Lou, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on.
All right. We'll talk to you real soon. Thank you. Coach DiCristofaro, Frank DiCristofaro, the head coach of Indiana Tech. Again, ranked number 9, I believe, in the country right now, in Division I in the state of, in the United States, obviously, state of Michigan, state of Indiana. They are currently ranked number 13. I beg your pardon, with the latest rankings. I guess but they're right up there, and they're going to be right there in the hunt at the end out of the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference. They've got a big weekend set, as we mentioned, against Aquinas. Those two teams have met so many times over the years. Their conference tournaments, in the old NAIA tournaments back in the 2007, 18, and 19 years. It's always a great rivalry, and Frank does a wonderful job. They're Indiana Tech, a perennial national tournament participant, and I got a feeling they're going to be back there again coming up in March of 2025 in St. Louis. Thanks very much to Coach DiCristofaro for coming on and talking some Indiana Tech hockey. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We'll wrap things up by telling you what's going on this weekend with some of the big games and what to look forward to. And we will go through the rankings real quick of what we have. We've gone through the men's D3. We'll give you the men's D1 and the women's D1 right after this. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and the 12 Ounce Sports Network on YouTube.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And don't forget, again, we keep mentioning it, but we are a ticket broker. And I always come out of that commercial just to make sure you know that. So if there's some big games, the NHL games coming up this weekend as well, as we've got some big college football games. And again, if you want to go watch the Lions take on the Jaguars or whoever, go to 12ouncesports.com/tickets. We are your ticket broker to get you the best prices. We don't charge those fees you see on some of those other markets, those other networks, whatever. We are 12ouncesports.com/tickets. All right. Again, thanks to head coach Frank DiCristofaro from Indiana Tech. Again, just hit a milestone with his 250th career victory, leading the Warriors to, again, another weekend of successful hockey. Next up for them is Aquinas College. All right. We talked about the rankings at the D1 level. Let's go through those real quick. As Jamestown remaining number one, they're undefeated on the year. Right behind them, Minot State. Actually, those two teams are playing tonight in the first of again, they reignite that rivalry game. Puck dropped at 7. I think it might be 7:30 Central Time, but they're playing tonight. Number one Jamestown against number 2 Minot State. So an exciting matchup there in North Dakota. Nevada, Las Vegas checking in at number 3. Ohio at 4. The defending national champions, Adrian, at 5. Then we've got Liberty at 6. Calvin at 7. Utah at 8. Niagara at 9. Oklahoma at 10. Drury at 11. Marysville at 12. Indiana Tech at 13. Grand Canyon at 14. Oswego at 15. 16, University of Arizona. University of Mary at 17. Purdue Northwest, they're at 18. Then you've got Midland at 19, Grand Valley at 20, Arizona State at 21. Then you've got Stony Brook at 22, Missouri State at 23, Colorado at 24, and Waldorf at 25. Now, again, remember, for the national tournament, we've got 8 auto bids, and then you've got 16 at-large bids for this 24-team tournament. Single elimination. The top 8 get an opening round bye, which is huge, but this is a single elimination tournament. So we'll keep an eye on that with the top 24 teams throughout the year as we get you ready on the road to St. Louis coming up the March 12th through the 25th. And in the women's rankings, just coming out about an hour and a half ago, the number 1 team is still Liberty, looking to get back to the top of the mountain. They were knocked off last year in the semifinals by Minot State. Maryville checks in this week at number 2. McKendree at number 3. Adrian, the defending national champions, there at number 4. Midland at 5. Minot State at 6. Indiana Tech at 7. Michigan at 8. Michigan Dearborn at 9. Miami at 10. Niagara at 11. Lindenwood at 12. Michigan State at 13. Jamestown at 14. And Lake Superior State at 15. So again, with this one, the top 10 make it to the national tournament. The top 2 teams get a bye all the way to the quarterfinals. Then the rest of the other 8 teams play in a double elimination style tournament. You win, obviously you get a day off, and it's much easier. You lose, then you got to play another game just to survive, to get back. So a lot of great hockey at the women's level at this national tournament. It is such nonstop action. Like, for example, the Minot State-Michigan game last year, the opening round game, Minot scored with 1/10 of a second to send it into overtime and ended up winning that game. So, yeah, and then Minot went all the way to the championship game against Adrian. So, food for thought. So, all right, we've got about 5 minutes left of the program tonight. Let's go through some of the big matchups we got coming up this weekend at the men's D1 level. We talked about it tonight. Number 1 and number 2, Jamestown and Minot State hooking up. That's going to be a classic. Those two teams always play some great games. Davenport's going to be traveling. They're going to play a home and home with number 5, Adrian. We've got number 8, Utah, traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Skating Rebels, the number 3 Skating Rebels. Number 20, Grand Valley, they're going to be taking on number 4, Ohio, down in Ohio this weekend. Number 16, Arizona against number 14, Grand Canyon. Should be a great weekend set there. Drury, number 11, Oklahoma, number 10. They're going to lock horns this weekend. Minot State, they're going to also play at Midland this weekend. And Purdue Northwest is going to take on number 12, Maryville. So those are some of the matchups of the ranked teams at the D1 level. At the D3 level, Central Michigan is going to take on number 5, Lawrence Tech. Calvin, number 2, they're going to take on the 22nd ranked Michigan State Spartans. We mentioned that this weekend. Number 1, Hope. Number 7, Michigan. The MCHC, we talked about it in the first half hour. That is some quality hockey. They're just button heads, top 5, top 10 teams every weekend. Those are some of the highlighted games at the D3 level. Women's D1, we've got Liberty at Rhode Island. They're number 1. Number 6, Minot, is going to be taking on number 4, Adrian. A rematch of the championship game. We just talked about it. That's going to be a huge weekend set for them, or a weekend game for them. Number 7, Indiana Tech's going to take on 10th ranked Miami. Then we've got number 8, Michigan, and number 9, Michigan Dearborn. Now we've talked to Coach Tribbs before, Jenna Trubiano. She's been on the program a couple of times. There is no love lost between these two programs. And if there's any indication of how that was when they met in the national tournament, losers bracket, winner go home game, these two teams, there's going to be, there might be a little bit of some extracurriculars in that one, a couple extra body checks thrown in that one, even though they're kind of frowned upon. But when those teams hook up, it is some great hockey. And finally, Adrian, we talked about them playing Minot State. They also have a matchup this weekend with a number 14 Jamestown. And then some games at the D2 level on the men's side, Marion against Concordia, Wisconsin. Miami, they've been to the national championship last year. They've got a big conference matchup with Michigan. Then you've got Davenport and Sioux College going to be taking each other on. And then head coach Kevin Brooks' Iowa team, they're going to be taking on Oklahoma State. And then next week, we're going to talk about the big series coming up in the Chicago area, the Capra Classic, the Big Ten matchups of all the Big Ten schools getting together at the D2 level. So many great hockey games coming up in Chicago next weekend. On our show next Tuesday, we're going to take you through all of that. We're going to get you set for that big weekend of action down in Chicago. Great hockey at the ACHA level next weekend. And, of course, we mentioned it. A week from this weekend, it's the home and home with the top 2 teams in all the land at the D3 level. That's Hope and Calvin, a West Michigan rivalry that's second to none in this state. You know, with every sport they play, not only just hockey at the ACHA level. All right, hey, that's going to do it. We're up against it. Want to thank Austin Huizenga, the head coach of Calvin University, their D3 squad, for joining us, and also Indiana Tech's men's Division I head coach Frank DiCristofaro for taking time out to be with us. And we want to thank you for letting us into your homes, on your computers, your television screens, however you're watching us around the world, here on the ACHA Power Play, here on 12 Ounce Sports and our 12 Ounce Sports Network on YouTube. All right, that's going to do it. Until next week, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you soon right here on the ACHA Power Play on 12 Ounce Sports and our 12 Ounce Sports Network on YouTube. So long.